Okay, everybody, this is going to be the first lesson in some reality economics. I want everyone to see that we are at Wikipedia under Fractional Reserve Banking, and this is exactly why the government is going bankrupt, basically. You can't tell by my tone, but this pisses me off greatly that this is even possible. And this is really what they don't want you to know, but it's all right here. You're not going to believe this, but this is true. And let's go to a simple example here. A single bank. And I'm just going to read real quick. The simplest example of a fractionally reserve banking in practice is a monetary system consisting of a single bank. For example, here we go. A bank may be fractionally reserved at a 1-to-5 ratio or 20%, which means it has $1 in reserve for every 4 it's loaned out. So if we go over here, what this says now is when a depositor deposits $100 into the bank under contract that the money can be withdrawn at any time, like when you put some money in the bank on payday, the bank could implement fractional reserve banking by either one of two situations. One being loaning $80 out of that original 100 you deposited without creating any more money. Or two, and this is what is just unbelievable, or two, creating an additional $400 out of thin air and loaning out that newly created $400. I will repeat this. Creating an additional $400 out of thin air and loaning out the newly created $400. So in the first case there would be a total of $100, the original, whereas in the second case of the money supply would be inflated to a total of $500. So by giving the bank $100, you actually gave them the ability to loan and create money and up to another $400. Now, you have to ask yourself the question. You put money in the bank. You bring cash. Now start thinking cash, because that's how it used to be, cash. Before we got into this advanced technology where now we can just add a zero on a computer screen and miraculously have some money. Okay, what's wrong with that? We're going to use some apples here in a minute as an example. Okay, there they are. There's the bank. One apple. Now what can the bank do? The bank can basically crap 1, 2, 3, 4 more. Now the reason we're using apples as an example here is so you can actually understand the fiction that goes on with banking. It's hard to explain because it's so ridiculous. Give this apple to the bank. They could make 1, 2, 3, 4 more. And that's your ratio. One of these equals 20%. 20% times 5 is 100%. So there you have your 100%. Now here's the problem. If I loan the bank an apple, they can't go into a computer and make more apples and loan out more apples, because you can touch them. You can literally touch the apples, as you can do with cash. We don't seem to use cash anymore as much as we used to. It's becoming digital. Everything's becoming digitized. Now, what's interesting is this. In the good old days, when you got a loan, you actually received cash, and you used that cash to go purchase something, and then you would pay the bank or whomever, or relative or whatnot, cash back plus interest in cash. Now it's completely different. So you're all probably still wondering how the heck a bank can just create money out of thin air. But if you're trying to figure out why so much debt and the recession is where it is and we can't seem to get ourselves out of the hole, is because we've created and we've allowed the government to create laws that allow banks to create money. So how do you back money that doesn't exist? Well, you borrow more money. And where do you borrow money? From whoever will send it to you. And if it's wired, that's a cute way. Where's the money? And when's the last time you actually saw money when you got a loan? That's the irony there. So now let's think about this for a second. In contrast, you're not allowed to counterfeit money, because when you introduce money that has been counterfeit into our economic system, that devalues the actual amount of the dollar. It's okay for banks to manufacture money out of thin air in the terms of little digitized dollars on a computer screen, but you can't counterfeit money. Now, that makes sense. You don't want to counterfeit money anyhow. It's against the law. And our economic model in this capitalistic society calls for fractional reserve banking. Legal to let banks manufacture fictional money, but it's against the law to counterfeit money. Okay, so the banks can do it, the government allows it, we can't do it as the little people.